And you kind of get, with all these new things coming on your phone, you get an amplified sense of what's around you. You have a kind of sixth sense of what's going on around you. And because your phone's always with you, you're moving around, the phone knows whether you're moving fast, it knows if you're at work, if you're at home. You can kind of think of how it has a kind of consciousness, a way to help you out. It knows what you're doing. So we're looking at all those aspects and how those things might help us with our ideas and designs going forward. It has to be, it means that it can be very relevant to the situation you're in. I mean, a very, very simple example. Last week we were in Dar es Salaam, and my daughter, who's obsessed with weather widgets on phones, won't get up in the morning without seeing what the weather is on my phone. And luckily, it kind of updated, it knew where we were, and it gave us the weather where we were. But it just shows how I hadn't changed anything about it, but automatically it was telling me the information that I wanted. It can help you discover, we need to think about how this kind of design can help you discover new things as well, because there's so much out there. So whereabouts is all this heading? Well, there's clearly some major design trends that are influencing interactive design. And I'm going to briefly highlight three of them. The first one is how we make sense of all of this. How do we personalize our devices to make them truly ours? The second one is new interactions that we have with our devices, the physical interactions we have with them. And the third one is direct input, how we use touch to navigate and how that changes the interfaces that we're designing. So if we first think about making sense of it all, there's so much out there. How on earth do we personalize the experiences that are available to us? Well, we need to think of new ways to tailor your device, and we need it to reflect the world that you have. I used to think of kind of it being your view on the internet, but the more I think about it, it's actually your internet coming straight to you. You're not kind of looking at it through a web page or an internet experience. That information, that data is coming straight to you, presented in the way you want it on your device. And we need to kind of make sense of all the new apps and experiences that we have. We need to look at having flexible home screens that you can move things around. We need to think about multiple home screens as well. How might you design multiple home screens? What you might have on those multiple home screens. So it's a very, in some ways, we're designing a kind of unfinished experience. It has to work straight out of the box and get you to engage with it going forward. But we want you to fill in the kind of blanks or the things that are really going to make it personal to you. And that's a real challenge for designers, but it's a really exciting place to be at the moment. So iconography is one of those fundamental building blocks that kind of allow you to navigate around and to find functionality on your phone. Rob's going to talk to you a little bit about that I think he's next, actually. And then taking that further, Juliana, one of our other designers, is going to be talking about how she's been researching and testing all over the world how people do want to personalize their devices for themselves. New interactions. This is all about how we physically interact with our device that we have. How do you pick it up? What do you do with it? And as designers, the interaction should really match the task that you want to do, not the technology. So if the task that you're doing changes, so does the interaction. And it used to be just about picking up the phone, making a phone call, doing some text messaging. But kind of if we think about, we need to use devices in new, kind of more natural, instinctive ways. So we need to think about how we might interact with our phones differently to how we do at the moment. So if you, for example, want to connect with your surroundings, I may pick up my phone, hold it in front of me. I'm looking at a historical monument. I get overlaid information on my screen telling me more about that monument. And another example is I may have my phone in my pocket. I want to do very minimal interaction in the traditional sense with it, but I'm walking around Delhi, and this is something I did, say, 17 years ago. I used to go and buy tapes to get into the kind of area and understand the music that people were listening to. But wouldn't it be nice if I can walk down a road and I can hear people's playlists, or I can choose to have people's playlists coming into my ears? And also, if I went to, for example, again, a historical monument, I can very quickly get into the mood of the place by listening to the music that's associated with that place. It gets you to the heart of a place very, very quickly. And Young-hee's going to tell us a little bit more about some of those interactions in her presentation. Direct input's obviously a fairly hot topic as well. And as the kind of physical and digital fuse together, we really need to think about new ways that people can interact with their content. So people want to have that physical connection. They like touching things. They like touching pictures of their children, their family, their friends, and music and videos. So that's why we began to use touch, because there becomes a closer emotional bond that people have, even closer than they have already with their mobile phones. It helps people feel connected very personally to things. And it's a trend that's across many, many platforms. You see big interactive video screens, you have ATMs, you have touchscreens offering railway tickets. It's everywhere, and it's a trend that's not going to go away. It's going to continue. But it's not for everybody, and it's not for every situation. And the portfolio that we have at Nokia of devices allows us to have a wide range of different ways of interacting with our phones. So what next? Well, touch is already here, as you know, and we're going to talk about some of the things that we've been working on. We can't give specific details, but if we think and you think about what the future is, I think there's directions that we all know are kind of happening. How might you use your device to connect to your surroundings? I've talked before about holding it up and getting a digital overlay, potentially on a physical surrounding. We could also think about projecting information onto objects that you might want to find out more about. These are all actions and things that change the relationship you have with your phone and change the way you physically interact. As I said before, I'm no longer just listening or texting. I'm holding things up, I'm looking at things, I'm projecting things onto objects. So it's a very different way of interacting.